So we're back with another collab between Dick Talk and Mimosas and Canceled for Maintenance podcast.
I was waiting for the meow so I could go sheesh.
That's at the end.
What are we talking about today, guys?
So
The clap.
The clap.
The clap, yes. And it's good to be deficient in the clap.
Yes, absolutely.
There's antibiotics for that. Yeah.
The clap. The clap. So today we'll talk about work stereotypes. Like stereotypes of women being in certain places, stereotypes of men being in certain places.
Like the
Right?
kitchen.
Like the kitchen. Right?
You know what though? I was up till like midnight last night baking rosemary bread. So
Which
That's
you did
true.
not bring.
Yeah, you didn't
Which
bring
I-
for us,
I didn't
but bring any
I'm
rosemary
sorry.
bread, sir.
My
That's very
fault.
selfish.
my fault.
See, even Celine
time.
is crying
I know.
because
I'm
she
really.
had
That's
bread.
what I'm most sorry about. Is that the cat
Make
didn't
me
get
a sandwich.
You know, I totally feel for that bread because before I left, I actually made some fried rice for 9 before I left. Like, I'm not gonna eat any of this, but whatever. At least you get breakfast.
Oh, that's true
Was there
love.
spam in it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course, there's spam in it. Look at this.
Oh my gosh. By the way, I never have spam, but of course I went to Hawaii and I had all the spam of the world.
You had
And-
spam?
Yes, like every day, and I feel like it's still in my gut.
And then what did
ham.
you have for breakfast?
Spam and
Oh.
dick.
Spam.
So yeah, I mean,
clap.
Spam is good.
Spam on the
If you're
balcony.
camping and you make it over like it's like grilled spam. It's actually pretty good. But
Yeah.
if you're in Hawaii, girl,
yeah.
why?
Because that's
That's
their thing.
that's the number
That's a
one
thing.
import of Hawaii is spam.
That's like literally their thing.
Yeah,
I
it's-
don't eat Hawaii. I mean, I don't eat spam
You don't-
here. It's not the healthiest.
Did you
had
have a
it
lot of
years.
poke while you were out there?
Yes. Oh my god, I'm such a snob now. Like I had poke like 2 days ago, and I'm like, oh, it's not like Hawaii.
well. If you ever happen to make your way to the Antelope Valley, there's a fancy poke restaurant called Poke Junction. Everybody,
Antelope Valley.
That's ours.
Let me put that on my.
Can I just say I love it when a man cooks because I mean it's
Is that a stereotype?
stereotypically
a
women are
positive
supposed
one,
to cook,
I
but
think.
like nowadays it's becoming more and more common for a man to know how to cook, you know, with respect. And so I really love it when a man knows how to cook.
I don't know how to cook, but I will show any man up that needs to hang something on a wall or
Right, like a handyman, handy woman.
handy woman, absolutely. I don't know how to cook great, but there's like I have like 3 tricks. And that's the end of it.
Yeah, I can make enough for it to be edible, but what I really like to do is bake. I bake a lot of stuff. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
See, I don't know how to bake.
Why is that cute?
It's cute because you don't normally associate a man with baking.
So what
It's rare.
Especially one who looks like me.
It's rare.
man bear pig?
In my own experience, it's rare for a man to bake. You know, like cooking, that's becoming more common.
I feel like
but
men
don't
are very
see a lot
like,
of men
I'm
bakers.
gonna throw on a steak on the grill, and that's how I show like, you know, my masculinity. Yeah.
Yeah, like let's get some dead cow on the grill. Like,
And
that's
it's gotta
very
be,
masculine.
and it's
That's
gotta
what
be
I do.
rare too, right? It has to
Yeah,
be.
it has to
like
be bleeding.
mooing,
Yeah.
Medium
mooing,
rare.
bleeding. Yeah.
That's a little too.
Like I grew up with my dad
While I'm drinking
barbecuing
my
a lot
scotch.
of chicken
Yeah.
and steak.
Yeah.
So that's all I know is like men barbecue, and that's very manly and masculine.
Yeah, and I still do that too. Like I'll still grill chicken or carne asada or
Yeah.
whatever else. But like I do like, to me, there's nothing better than a good homemade bread. So
I'll admit. Like,
What else do you bake?
so I'm
Mostly bread.
Mostly breads. I do like cheddar biscuits. I made it was in like a skillet. So I made it in a skillet, but it was like a blueberry tart crumble thing. Yeah, so I do it in the skillet on the
Amanda
stovetop.
has a stove.
And then you and then put it in the oven to finish it off or whatever else. Yeah.
I wish I knew earlier, but a restaurant that I love and they've had breakfast from a lot down the street from my old house that's still close by, Friends and Family.
Okay.
They they bake all of their bread and all of their pastries and stuff in there. It is fucking phenomenal.
Phenomenal,
Yeah.
yeah.
Can confirm.
That's awesome.
Can confirm.
See, you're baking
The
like,
belt sandwich. It's bacon, egg, lettuce, tomato, avocado on their own bread.
Yeah.
All like it's fucking.
I got to tell you, the Instapot is the way to go too.
What's,
You
the,
don't have-
what's an Instapot?
Like a crock pot.
it's like a
Like a
crock
pressure
pot, but
cooker?
a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I use that a lot too. And so I'll throw like either ribs in there or some vegetables. You can do rice in it or whatever else. But if you put like meat in there, marinate meat and put it in there, and then you just hit hit the timer,
me.
and basically like
Feed
you
me.
go to the gym,
In a few hours.
come back, and it builds up pressure, and it's cooking in there, and then you release the pressure, take it out, and the meat just falls apart.
You know, I'll admit
Yeah.
I've done something like that, but for
really
stew, you know, like soups,
Oh, I love stew.
right? And it's like 20 minutes tops. Bing, and then here we go, like soup for like 6 people.
My sister came down like 2 weeks ago. She lives out in Vegas, and
Really?
yeah,
Sorry, I'm going to Vegas next week, so I'm just like,
Are
what
you?
part of Vegas?
I was contemplating going next week as well.
Really?
We usually she lives in Henderson. She's a speech pathologist.
Oh,
Hey.
Yeah, so we usually go out and stay with her or whatever. But she gets all these recipes off this website called Half Baked Harvest, and it was this like Thai dish. It was rice noodles, these different veggies, water chestnuts, chicken. And then it had like a spicy peanut sauce that went with it. If you're not allergic to peanuts,
I love
man.
spicy peanut sauce.
Oh, that was
I'm
killer.
not allergic to peanuts at all.
Penis.
Penis.
Penis. We're not allergic to penis.
Neither.
We
one.
love the penis.
Me
I
either.
mean, peanut
Wait.
sauce.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Wait,
No, I spoke too much. I'm drinking.
Scotch, please.
But can we like not talk about food because I'm starving?
Okay, so
Get
we're
some more of that
talking about
salami.
work
Get some more of that salami you just
stereotypes.
had.
Put
I
some meat
think I
in your
might just
mouth.
have
So
some.
we're stereotypes. So Anna, what's it like for a male in your profession as a nurse, a nurse, as I like to call them?
Nurse?
Well, I'll
It's like a man.
I thought that was a man purse. Yeah.
A male
Indiana
nurse.
Jones had one. It's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'll talk about that, but also
He's a
talk
real
about
man.
like
It's a satchel.
Yeah.
I actually worked in the auto industry for 6 years.
Really?
Ooh.
So
hard.
when I was 19 years old, I started working for BMW in their service department. Then I worked
Okay.
for Honda. Then
Bougie.
I
I get
worked
a little less
for
bougie.
Yeah.
But oh, then back to bougie. Okay.
Yeah.
So what did you do? Sorry.
I worked in the service department, but
Cat screaming back
I
there.
know how you feel.
I worked in the
It's okay.
service
I feel you.
department. But so I never really had a problem with it. Like me like performing that job. It was basically like a receptionist, set up appointments or things like that. But a lot of people that would call in, especially with people with high-end cars, they don't believe that a woman knows anything about cars. So like let's say someone needed to know how to like someone had like a light on their dash, and I would be like, oh, this is how you reset it. They're like, let me talk to a man. It's like, no, I was trained
Yeah.
on this. Like I'm around these cars all the time. Like I know how to do this. And a lot of times the thing is you're a woman, you don't know what you're talking about. And the funny thing is that like, so for example, for like BMW and for all the dealerships that I worked at, the manager was always like on the office next door. So I would just like put them on hold and be like, yo, this guy is like being obnoxious. They're being ridiculous. So they would pick up the call and the manager or supervisor, whatever, would tell them the exact same thing I told them. And it would be like, oh, okay, thanks.
Cool. I just want
yeah.
a second opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, from a man. Yeah. So
It's not like your second opinion from
So-
a doctor or anything like that.
What
Yeah.
was it like because I would assume a lot of your coworkers were males.
Same thing. There was a lot of sexual harassment. A lot. Especially because in the service department, it was always girls. Like there was never like
In the service department?
service department where like the girls like setting the appointments.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was
yeah.
like a call
And then-
center.
yeah.
That's what I was going to say,
Yeah.
because most of the dealerships that I've dealt, like Toyota up where I live at or whatever
Yeah.
else, even the Ford dealership up there, it's all females in the service
All the
department.
girls that
Yeah.
answer the phones, it's all
Yeah.
female, or
Yeah.
at least my experience.
And I thought it was maybe it's because it's one of those that's more
Pleasing to
the ear.
voices.
Yeah, like
I'd rather listen to you than listen to me on the phone. Hello, you know what I mean? Hello.
What do you want?
Okay, what do you want?
What's
All
your
right.
problem?
Friday at 11. You can't make that time? Too bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear
But
me.
instead, it's like someone like Anna. Hello, how can I help you? Oh,
What's wrong with your carburetor?
Your car doesn't have
Oh my God, I need a new one. Sell me a new one,
know what's
please.
wrong with it, but
So
I need
like,
to
it
go
was a
hard.
lot of times that it would be like from both ends, like harassment from not just my coworkers, but from clients, like
Clients,
people
yeah.
that
Yeah.
would drop off their car.
Customers.
I remember there was a time where this guy brought his BMW and there was a lot of things wrong with it. So his car was there for like maybe like a couple weeks. And this is way back in the days of like AOL and instant messaging. He would message me pictures of him and his wife having sex.
Ew.
What?
What?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
At the BMW dealership. And like back then, like I wouldn't, because I was young, because I
That
started that
was
job.
a customer that was doing it?
I was
Wow.
19 when that happened.
Jesus.
Ew.
So I didn't know what to do. And I didn't want to lose my job because I thought like, if I report this, they're going to think that I caused this. So
Isn't that
I'm
a
just-
beautiful space to be in as a woman too?
Yeah.
Something that you
Yeah.
don't want to happen to you, that is inappropriate,
Do you-
and you still feel responsible for it happening.
Yeah,
And that it's
exactly.
likely that people will think that you're responsible for it.
And that is a shitty place to be in. Could you have like had like a male coworker you trust him, like, hey man, can you like report this for me instead? Because like I've been in that
think I was
situation
too
before
young,
at
to
work
be
where
honest.
somebody's like, man, I want to say something, but I'm afraid. I'm like, I'm not afraid to say anything.
I-
I'll go do it
I was
for
gonna
you.
say,
You know what I
I'm
mean?
that person. I was
Yeah.
in automotive class in high school, right?
Mhm.
Like all of my high school years. And it was the same shit. It's like I was the only girl in my whole high school that was in automotive class. And it was, of course, the same shit, right? It was like, my name is permanently like Toots and shit like that. And yeah, and I'm grateful because my teacher, the automotive teacher in my school, was very much like straightforward about like no tolerance with this shit. And most of the time I didn't say shit, but not out of like fear. I just like dealt it back, you know?
Yeah.
And there's a few times where he just like straight up, you're just out, like you are removed from this class for the rest of the year because I'm not tolerating this bullshit, which was great. And maybe it just fueled my fire for not tolerating shit like that.
Well, you shouldn't. Like,
Yeah.
who wants to see at 19 some dude and his wife having sex? Like, what?
Yeah.
like the little pop up
You- how
like
you-
in the corner of like your
Yeah.
screen.
You know, like hindsight being 20/20, but I think about I'm like, okay, that's when I just find random dick pics on the internet and send them back. Oh, hey, thanks for the video. Check this out. You know?
But then, of course, she would be blamed, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Like,
they
why
just
is it
do
be-
it.
like,
Yeah.
Or are you
dick
sending the
pics?
customer dick pics?
Like, they're not even my dick, though.
Yeah, I don't have one.
Yeah, like I have a lot of them, but not this isn't one of them.
No, for as far as that concerned, right? We're talking about like clients and coworkers who are men. Have you ever had stereotypes like that, but from other women? You know what I mean? Like women clients say, like, "Oh, I can't trust you. You for sure don't know what you're talking about." Right?
Well, who was talking? Well, we had somebody on, I guess, once, and they were talking about in the military, like they had. Oh, it was with the episode with the girls, and they were saying they went to like their female superiors for like help, and they were worse to them than what was actually happening to them from the male side of it.
I'm trying to think. I'm
It's
like,
did
I'm
you,
sure
did
I've
you have
received
like
it.
women
but
who were older than you in there who like you tried to talk to and they made you feel
Like,
worse
this is
about
how it is. You just have
Yeah,
to
you just
accept
have to deal
this
with
shit.
it. Yeah.
No. The only example that I have that is maybe close to that, but it's not so much about a I mean, it could be a stereotype. So that particular dealership in the BMW dealership when I was 19 years old, I was in the service department. I was making $12 an hour. And I remember, and I was doing a lot because I was like pretty much assistant to the manager. So I was doing a lot and I was coming in on weekends. I was running reports. I was doing everything. I remember the greeter, this older lady, she was like maybe 40. She was the greeter. She didn't do shit. Her job was to have a clipboard, cross off the names of the appointments, direct them to like the parts department to pick up their car or the car wash because we had a free car wash. And I remember I found out, she told me that she was making $19 an hour.
What?
So when I went, back then there was a lot. So when I went back to my manager and I'm like, why is she making more money for doing like a 10th of what I do? She's like, well, she's a mom. I'm like,
Shut the fuck up.
What does that matter?
What the
Yeah.
fuck does that
exactly.
matter?
How do you know I'm not? You know?
Right?
Maybe, yeah.
Why is
Oh,
that?
so-
What if I got problems?
What if,
right?
yeah, I got problems too.
requirement of the job?
What if I got medical bills and shit?
Yeah,
What-
exactly.
I'm a full-time student.
Paying
Like,
for
I
my
gotta pay-
parents'
Yeah.
cancer treatment. Like,
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
Exactly.
You know, and we all got stories, you know, like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is that?
So I actually left for that reason because I asked them, I'm like, you will either match this or I'm going to quit. So they didn't match it. And I ended up leaving in good terms. But I mean, it wasn't from her. It was, from the managers. But I just thought that was pretty shitty.
I ended up
And they're
working
like,
out.
well,
Look at you now.
you don't have a kid, so you don't deserve to get paid more.
So I got something for that, but we'll save that for later.
Yeah. But as far as like my profession, male nurses, they get a lot of crap. I will say.
Do they really?
Why? What kind of crap?
Well, just because like.
Well, who are they getting crap from?
Yeah.
Is it female nurses or is it their friends outside of work?
It could be nurses. It could be patients. So a lot of times the patients will be like, well, why are you just a nurse? Like, why don't you want to be a doctor or something?
Interesting.
But a lot of times women, and I'm at fault for this, women will equate men with power or strength. So like, let's say, for example, if I have a heavy patient, I'm not going to look for this scrawny little nurse. I'm going to look for the male. Even if he's the same height as me, I'm banking on the fact that maybe he has more power and strength to like help me turn a patient or move him. So that's like kind of like the stereotype that I would say as far as like,
I bet I can turn more patients than those guys can.
Yeah. And there's this guy that I follow on Instagram. He is a male nurse that has kind of like a big following. He is fucking ripped because he's also a bodybuilder, but he is massive. And I guess there's something going on in Detroit. What's happening? Riot something?
Why are you looking at me?
I don't know. Because you're like from that
Because you grew up on 8 Mile.
Yeah.
Of course.
The Midwest.
It's all one.
So I feel like you're like
area.
our correspondent for like.
We're from the Oak
I mean,
District.
technically you're closer to
No,
that.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
saying
closer
like
to
she's
Detroit
from
than
like
she
that. You know, for all my news from that area, I feel like Amanda covers
Amanda.
that.
Jurisdiction. Amanda.
Yes, exactly.
Midwest.
Like you would be like Texas, like down here. I'm like over here. I don't know.
We all have a quadrant
Anyways,
of
yeah.
the
It's a
country.
quadrant-
We should know
quadrant of this
everything
country.
about
Yours
it.
is the whole Pacific.
Right, the whole Pacific.
Point is, apparently something is happening, some riots, something is going on where this guy took a contract and he was showing on his Instagram that he straight up told them during the interview, he's like, with everything that's about to happen in Detroit, you need a male my size in your ER because all the bullshit that's going to go down. Like I not only double as a nurse, but I'm also a security guard.
Wow.
Because of, you know, his size and his massiveness.
So my friend I was telling you, that's one of the head RNs up where I live at. She said they have a couple of big guys, especially like on the weekend nights, because if they get some dude who's strung out on meth that comes in there and like they get that superhuman strength, and he's like, you need those 2 people alone just to hold one dude down.
Yeah.
And they said because otherwise they go off the freaking deep end.
I mean, how wild is that meant to have a bouncer in an ER?
A bouncer in the ER.
Well,
That's basically what they are. Like the bouncer, like, yo, you need to.
Well, you get the ambulance that rolls up. They roll up, push their friend who's been shot or stabbed out of the car, and they peel off, and that guy's just laying there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, my friend works in a trauma ER in Long Beach, and she says that. And she's like, they just dump
push
them
them out. Get out. You're shot, stabbed. Deal with it.
Yeah.
Bye.
Exactly. So
I will acknowledge the healthy masculine energy. And if that is required in a job, then that's something to take a look at. I mean, for that particular instance, that's something to consider.
yeah, no, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it's like in particular.
But she might
it's
be
like
more
almost expected.
qualified or experienced on the medical side of
correct,
it. But they're going to
right.
hire that dude just
Because he
because
can
of the meth heads.
Because of the situation that's
Correct.
going
Yes,
on.
because he
Yeah.
can squat.
I'll fucking
Right.
squat.
We're going to see her in 6 months from now. She's going to come in. Nobody's taking my job.
What's it like for women in aircraft maintenance?
Ooh,
Oh yeah.
you want to kick that off, friend?
So like we were talking offline, women in aviation typically do very well.
Is it because their little scrawny girl hands can reach into
No,
things and grab
what I mean is they don't stay.
those parts that fell where you can't reach them?
I mean,
That's how they do suppositories.
in some instances,
They're used to spinning their heads and things.
That's why everyone.
Fucking socket where I can't reach it.
I mean, in some instances, like, and I have short arms. In some instances, I'm stuck. I can't get any further. But you would be able to reach up in there a little further and get your fingertips.
she can't
in.
reach
We're
further.
scrawnier
Yeah,
smaller.
Right, but she might even be able to wedge her shoulder into
I can
the panel
dislocate
and
it.
just all she needs is 2 more inches. Don't we all? Don't we all?
2 inches will make a difference.
But typically, what I mean is that they do very well is that they don't stay on the floor or the hangar floor very long. They move into management roles.
What do you do on the
pretty quick.
hangar floor?
That's where all the maintenance happens, where all the work happens. So the hangar is
The
where
wrench
the
turning.
aircraft's parked and
Okay.
where all the wrench turning goes on. But females typically move into management roles pretty quick. They don't stay around on the floor very long. They kind of move up. And why? Because it's more of a male dominated industry. So a lot of times,
Knuckle busting.
and a lot of times men are pretty crude and too coarse for managerial white collar, especially in that field. So girls are more refined, so they put them into those. And it's more pleasing, right? If you have to go and present to the director of the program or whatever these different reports, they'd rather hear it from one of you rather than hear it from me. And that's sort of sexist in a way, I guess, thinking about it as well.
Yeah.
But that's how it is. And not that they're not qualified for the job. Females in aviation typically are more educated. Some of the smartest. So they're more educated than the males. The males do enough to get the license to work, and that's it. Yeah. But the females come in with the license and the bachelor's or master's or whatever else degrees. So
and a lot of the women in the aviation industry like to uplift each other, right?
Because it is
I'll say 50-50 of that, right? It's so small, it's already a small industry, and then you have so little of women in it. I think like 7% total. Pilots, engineers, techs, all that. It's just about 7%, give or take. So they're all about like boosting each other up. You want to be a mech? Great. You want to be a pilot? Great. Let's walk you through the steps.
You got this, girl.
A lot of our biggest supporters for our podcast are females.
Women have been women.
Really?
Right?
Like I would say 80% of it is women.
Yeah.
And so like we would have like pilots, for
We
instance.
act like we're shocked, but yet our listener base is all men.
I wish we could say the same, but it's about 70% men, 30%
That's interesting.
women.
It's like
80%.
completely
75%
flipped from what you would
yeah.
think.
And most of our guests, matter of fact, have been women.
But do you think? But do you think that's because? Do you think it's because
Wanting to get into
men
this.
don't want to support men, right? And women maybe don't want to support
like an
it's-
intimidation.
like it's an
or
intimidation. Like if I support
insecurity.
you and elevate you,
Yeah.
I'm somehow lowering myself. And the male thing too, right? Egos are huge in men, so it's like,
Absolutely.
oh, I can't promote them because what is that doing for me?
I can't do that.
Yeah, it
Right.
makes me
So,
look soft,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, like for pilots, for instance, we've had women pilots tell us that grown-ass men would step off the plane when they find out the pilot's a woman. Like flat out, like, oh, a woman's flying this? I'm out.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, and that happens more than often. There's a bunch that were like that, and there's like, what's the damn difference? They know how to throw it in the full, pull up on the stick, and you're in the air. What's the damn difference?
Right.
Oh, because they can't even drive. That's another stereotype too.
I will fucking fight any man that thinks he can drive better than me.
It's like,
but sorry.
they can't drive.
I
so
am the best parallel parker you have met.
Bitch, I will fight you.
Okay.
I am pretty good myself, but all right.
right, but imagine
Point
that, right?
is,
So,
we're
like-
women.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like they already think they have this in their mind, like, oh, they're emotional drivers. They can't possibly fly a plane, let alone fix one.
Right.
Excuse
It's like
me?
Anchorman. Like,
Now,
you'll
one of
attract
another
bears.
stereotype for women in aviation is that they get moved into management only because they're a woman, because they can't do
Yep.
can't do what everybody else is doing on the floor. You can't lift as much. You can't. You don't take the time to learn what the job is. You just kiss enough ass to move on up.
Or how,
That's another big.
Or here's
stereotype.
another one for you ladies. Is they only got there because they blew their way to the top.
Right.
Yeah,
Of course.
Right. Now, I'm gonna flip this a little bit on the psychological side. Like, in order for them to take advantage of that, there had to be somebody of influence to give
Weak
that
ass,
out.
yeah, weak ass
Right.
man.
Right.
Well, and if that's what happened, they were just smart enough to play the game and beat it.
Okay.
Right.
I mean, what's worse? The women who took advantage of the one who was trying to take advantage of the new girl or whatever and say this for that.
Right. No, I agree. And it's funny because, yeah, I think like, so if it's a male dominated field and a woman does well, it's the stereotype that she used some kind of sexual prowess to get to where she was successful. And then on the flip side, I think with a more female dominated career, whether it's nursing or with children, if there's a man in that field, all of a sudden he's like a fucking pussy or he's gay or he's whatever because
Oh yeah, like being a stay-at-home dad, right?
right.
Like there's
my God,
such
yeah.
a negative stereotype on that, but
For sure. Or like
that?
working with children, right? Like I feel like it's a 50-50 shot that someone's going to think that man is a pedophile. Which granted, there are pedophiles out there. Granted, there are women that fuck their way to the top out there, but I don't think that it should be just like if you're a teacher, I am going to assume that you're a pedophile and you have to prove that you're not.
well, and that's you're right on that, because there's so many times like you try so hard not to, like, you're just having a conversation with somebody, right? Like say you're at the park, kids are playing, there's another mom there, whatever else, she's there with her kids, and you're just trying to have a conversation like, oh, this, that, but I feel like almost instantaneously like, whoa, like there's already this wall up. I'm just trying to be a nice person and just have a conversation, but I'm already got this stereotype like, oh, you're a creeper, dude. What are you doing here? You know what I mean? Yeah,
This was an episode of what would you do? That show?
Oh
yeah.
Yeah, it was like male nannies
Yeah.
that people would coming up to them like, it's a guy taking care of a child like that.
Right.
That's not right. And it's like, no,
Why is
that's
that
Yeah,
not
I feel like
right.
sometimes in those situations you have to work as a man. You have to work harder to prove you're not a creep than you really should have to.
Or like
You-
like what you were saying, like certain jobs, like it has the stereotype where you have to have a certain sexual orientation, right? Like if you're in any kind of wrench turning, knuckle busting kind of industry, you have to be a lesbian or otherwise. Or if you're in a sensitive, air quote sensitive occupation, you have to be a gay person, right? You have to be a gay man, because why would you want to touch other people and be nice, and be
Right.
sensitive and shake your
Yeah.
face and all that?
Right. Yeah. No, when I was in automotive class, I had even my own family members consistently like trying to be like, okay, but you're a lesbian, right? Like, no, what? Like, but so
at least
you're
your school could afford it.
yeah, you're in automotive class and you're a girl and you're not trying to have sex with those guys. Like, so what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
I'm like, what? I just want to know how to do this.
And not that there isn't a mix of lesbians or gays in the industry, because I know just from the own shop that I work now, there's at least 3. But it's just a mixed bag, and it's like it's not everywhere,
Right.
You know. It's just that stereotype that comes with, oh, you want to do mechanical things as a woman, you got to be a lesbian.
Yeah, or like you're in denial if you're telling me that you're not
I like
a
to bake.
lesbian.
I like to bake. This dude like big dick. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right? It's just that kind of stuff.
As opposed to little.
I got my own friends like, oh, you bake? I'm like, bitch, you just ate half of what I made. Like,
Yeah.
shut the fuck up.
You
get
had
to
no
enjoy
problem
it.
eating it.
Yeah, you had no problem eating it. Why do you got a problem with me making it?
Guess who's in the happier marriage?
Right. And you know what's funny too is like baking. How the fuck did baking become this like associated with women thing? Because it's like a fucking science.
I think it's just from, we were talking earlier about the older generations and stuff, and home ec class, right?
Yes.
Back in the day
I took that.
was only women in there.
Uh-huh.
Or men that wanted to bang the
Or
women.
men that wanted to bang the women.
But,
Yeah.
but even like I remember hearing my mom talk about, like, at one point in time when she was in school, you weren't allowed to take it as a male.
Oh, you weren't allowed?
We're from a very rural area. mind
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
Wow.
you weren't like it was, if you were in there was something wrong with you, and no guy let's just say, even if he wanted to bang the dude, but he would have the connotation of being gay. So even the girls in there would be like, oh, this dude's gay.
Yeah.
And like, we want nothing to do with him. He's not a threat. So he would be an outcast on both sides. Like, he was like, hey, I'm going to go in here so I can be around these chicks.
Yeah.
Hopefully get lucky. And they're like, something's wrong with him. He's the only dude in here. And then all the guys are like, why aren't you in wood shop, auto shop, whatever, welding,
Playing football,
welding
drinking
shop?
beers.
Like,
Yeah.
Like,
Tipping cows.
like, this dude's gay. So now you're an outcast on tipping cows. Now you're an outcast on both ends, you know?
And you know what's funny is that I don't feel like it goes both ways.
No.
Because on the flip side, like as a female that was in, like automotive and wood shop and all that shit, right?
I did wood shop, yeah.
It's like I was not outcast by the men.
You're
No,
okay.
you wanna
Damn
know
right
why?
I wasn't.
You want to know why? Because the men were in there like, dude, finally a female in this
Yes.
motherfucker.
Good
Like,
looking one at that,
yeah,
right?
we got a good looking female. Like, oh, I'm that's mine. I'm going to get that
Dibs,
one.
right? Like
Right,
what we said
yeah.
in one episode.
Yeah. But you know what's funny though is so like saying being in automotive class. And I referenced that just because it was like I was in it for sophomore, junior, senior year. It's 2 periods. It was like fucking 50% of my high school education. And although like none of the guys really like pushed me out like I shouldn't be there. Like they're all like, okay, cool. But no one wanted to be my partner.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't want my grade to be like hinging on you.
So, and I always looked at it like when I was in high school, I was like, let me get a female partner because I'm going to get a better grade because of her. You know what I mean? Like she's smarter than me. They mature faster than me. Like I'm going to get a better.
And in
grade.
most cases, they are.
Her handwriting's nicer.
Well, at least
I like that architecture, all caps.
her attention to detail will beat out my stupidity. It'll cancel out.
Yeah.
Right. Side stereotype when we were talking about like women who are in the aviation industry, the ones that are gay happen to be some of the better ones. And we made this joke earlier about them being able to reach into tight places with certain appendages. Get
the extra 2 inches.
And it's true.
That's what we all need.
It's true. The sad part is it's true.
Great motor skills.
Well, and I think, and they end up being better because in their mind, I already got this stipulation against me, so I got to work harder.
Yes,
to
100%.
prove that I'm doing, and they do. And every time they, people talk shit, I'm like, because like we're quality assurance now, right? We don't turn wrenches anymore, but we'll see them out there, and they hear guys talking shit. I'm like, they just fucking work circles around your ass.
Yeah.
I was like,
you just have to show up, but this person's
she just did the same job as you.
And half the time.
And passed in flying colors in half the time, and I'm writing you up for a fail because you fucked up on your process. You know what I'm saying? Like, and the guy's like, "This is bullshit." I'm like, "Eat it."
So, side note about the Billy thing. I have to take this out because I told this to Coyote on our behind the scenes thing.
Oh my god!
Who is Coyote? I like that.
Oh, we'll bring her on because
Okay.
we said like we'll hit you up and see we'll bring her on. Anyway, we used to make the sex
hilarious.
jokes with this one supervisor. Let's codename him Billy. We'll codename him Billy. Every time Billy will call me out to inspect something because they lost something or another, I'll always make like some dumb sexual joke because he's very, very shy. And he's like, "Hey, Six, we lost something in this plane. Can you come look for it?" I'm like, "Oh, fuck, Billy. All right." And then it's always somewhere like where I can't fit my hands into, but I'll try anyway. And
We
every
gotta try.
and I'm in there, I'm fishing around, and the whole time I'm making like these stupid sex jokes, like, "Oh, fuck, Billy." Deeper. Oh, yeah.
Where's the lube?
It's so tight, Billy.
And you just stare them in the eye, and they're like,
Right. And at first, everyone was like, "What the hell is wrong with sex?" But it got so common that even they started doing it. Right.
"Yeah."
I start fishing there, and then they're all on the side. "Fuck, Billy." Sorry, Billy. I'm sorry.
Shout out to the Billy.
Shout out to Billy. And we told this to Coyote, and I guess they started doing it at their show. So imagine, right? A girl doing this, right?
Yes.
Like fishing her hands
Yes.
in there. "Fuck, Billy."
Well, we had just yesterday, right, at work, we had one of the girls at Lesbians do that. She was doing that kind of stuff, and like even the managers, they had walked up behind and they were like,
I saw nothing.
The best thing in the world is making, like, as a woman, making a man uncomfortable. It's just like I live in a world
It's
of
a
men
talent.
making women uncomfortable. So like being able to turn the tables feels like power.
The easiest
And I
way to
gotta
make a
say-
man feel uncomfortable is to talk about your period.
I mean, I'm so insensitive to that
Yeah.
now.
I
I don't even get a period, and I could just pull that one out.
I mean,
and be like,
no.
I don't. No, because I have the Mirena, so I don't get a period.
Yeah.
So
That's
a whole
birth
episode.
So
control.
this reminds me of when when we had to go shopping for hygiene,
Yeah.
Right.
To like in the
and of course, right, it's always going to be that one old person cashier that just happens to be the only one available to check you out. I'm like, "Oh, is these for you?"
Yes.
Yes.
I get lots
"That's what
of
I do." I'm like,
nosebleeds.
"These for you?" I'm like, "They sure are." I was like, "I'm going through the change." And then they just go, "Oh," and they close in on themselves, like they don't know what to do.
Yes. See these are supers. I know what they're for. Yes.
So in high, this is like a tangent. In high school, I had a health teacher, a man, right? And he was like apparently like an Olympic wrestler and had an entire day talking about how tampons are the best way to stop a nosebleed.
They're
they
pretty
are.
good. Yeah, they're pretty good, actually. Yeah, they're really good, actually.
Yeah.
I had nasal surgery, and if I had tampons, I would have shoved them up there. But anyway, that's
Oh
a
yeah,
sad story.
how's the recovery going?
Good.
Yeah?
It's still healing, but it's good.
Is it like sort of the touch, or is it?
No, it's all right. It's just a little swollen.
I'm not gonna lie. When that episode came out, I did like the stupidest, embarrassing wheeze laugh. I'm like, I gotta breathe, and a bunch of other things that follow. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, recovery was brutal, but it was all right. I'm all right now. But 6, you brought up an important metric earlier about 7% of aircraft maintenance workers were women. It's about the same metric for women in the military, or at least
This is true.
in the Marine Corps. At least when I was serving, it was about 6 to 7%. And I'm remembering a story that I read about a woman pilot who was she was in flight school, and one of her instructors made a comment about how he didn't want her flying when she was on her period.
Fuck him.
Even though she was like, first of all, that has nothing to do with anything, but like she was one of the top students in her class.
I don't want you to be successful. That'll make the rest of us men look like shit.
I don't want you to be
Yeah, how
successful.
dare you show me
while-
up?
So
Yeah.
going on
Egos.
that, we had this one female pilot who's been flying for like 8 years already, right? She's pretty much up there with one of the most highly qualified people. Her first ever deployment, they gave her the call. She didn't have a call sign, and they gave her the call sign lube. And
The fuck?
Lube?
yeah, lube, like freaking
my
Astroglide lube.
Okay.
Right? And so we ran with it for like a solid, like, I don't know, 3 weeks. And we never noticed it. And then we finally did. Like, say, ma'am, question, why is your call sign lube? Right? And they go, well, we all get our call signs from our senior pilots and et cetera, et cetera. And they go, you know, we're going into country when we deploy, right? So you realize if we go down, we're all fucked, especially you. So if I were you, I would have your weapon on one side and have a little tube of Astroglide to go with it.
When you get
And then that's how her call sign Luke came about. I'm like, that is so fucked up.
Yep.
The dark reality.
Yeah. Or they'll have like some really ridiculous like lesbian-ish call signs like Lube or Butch or some other wild ones, right? I'm like,
Oh my God.
oh days, I just way to like really hammer that home. Like we don't want you here. Kind of get what you were saying, right?
Yeah, cool. Super glad I'm part of this unit. Really helping out.
So great.
Morale.
Yeah,
Super
morale.
glad.
Yeah, really happy to be here in the desert.
The same pilot who went on to graduate, of course, and became a pilot, I think in the Air Force. She was flying in Afghanistan in 2009 and her helicopter was shot down. And so, you know, she was injured a little bit, but she was still able to fire back at insurgents and, you know, eventually get her patients evac to safety. But she had tried to join a different MOS or military occupational specialty because she could no longer be a pilot because of her injury. And that specialty was closed to women. So at the time, she actually sued the Secretary of Defense
Oh shit.
Yeah.
to repeal the combat exclusion policy, which barred women from combat roles, and she won.
Oh, I heard. Okay,
Yeah.
now
So
all right,
because
now
of her actions, and
No.
I mean, there were other women involved, of course, along with the ACLU, they started opening those combat roles to women, which were previously banned. So now, because of her, you know, women are now allowed to go through infantry school and to become infantry, even which was barred previously. So shout out to MJ Hagar, author of "Shoot Like a Girl."
Hey.
Raise a glass.
Raise a
Raise
glass.
glass to you.
Yes. You know what that reminds me of? The movie G.I. Jane. With, yeah.
Yep.
So
That's why. So she is the reason. So little side note: when that movie came out, when I graduated 8th grade and I was going into high school 9th grade, so that movie is the reason why I shaved my head going into 9th grade. Yeah,
You shaved your head?
Wow.
wow.
Interesting.
Because of Debbie Moore in
from that
G.I.
movie.
Jane.
Wow.
That's badass.
Yeah.
So we've actually had a couple of guests or listeners who commented on ours who were women in combat arms like infantry, artillery, and stuff like that. And they were telling us some of their experiences as they went through. And a lot of that stuff where they were saying was very engineered for them to fail. Right?
Yes.
Like I think it was 2010 or 2011 when they did this big experiment to see how many women will go through infantry training and pass. Right? They started like 24 and they only graduated 4, but one got hurt and they only graduated 3. And they're saying like, oh, this is a victory for women because 3 made it. But as they went back to interview them, they said a lot of the stuff they pushed them through was pretty much destined to fail. Like they would have graduated well more had they not been really trying to push them out.
Yeah, they modified.
I was going to say,
heard
such as what?
They modified some of the training to like that they never have done even when it was only men. And then they modified certain obstacles or whatever they had to do.
I feel like I've heard this one before.
So like basically the men were barely passing it to the point where the men would barely pass it, knowing full well the females would not
pass it.
Would not pass it. But it's something they had to that point in the training or the vetting out, they never were doing that exercise. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, we're going to implement this new thing. Right now? You haven't changed anything in 85 years, but now you're going to change it right now.
Right now it's a thing.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, we've been working on the litigation for it for a time, and it's finally done. Oh, okay.
And the narrative is interesting because the headline is always something along the lines of, you know, women wash up during training or women fail training, but they don't talk about how the percentage of men who fail the same training. Like it's tough training.
Right.
So, I mean, kudos on those who actually even attempt the training, much less pass.
Right. Or like in the example of G.I. Jane, right? With men going through Navy SEAL training, it's an 80% washout, right? And you got one woman who has like all the odds against them to begin with.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, see, look, 100% women washout. Cool. But that was like one person versus the statistic of 80% men.
Yeah. 80% of men fail out of it. But the headline is one woman failed. But what they don't say is 80% of those men who washed out in the first 2 weeks, and she made it 6 weeks in. So she made it 2 times, 2 times longer in the process they did. And what did she fail out for? Oh, she couldn't make the cut. No, she broke her ankle, like coming off of an obstacle or some shit. Like we got medically relieved. She can still go through again, you know?
But it supports the narrative of that they're not fit for combat. I mean, that's the narrative that we see so often.
In your former role, when you were active duty and doing the publications and all that kind of stuff, were you by your superiors limited to what you could and could not report on? So let's say in that case, we're talking about 80% of men wash out, but the one woman does, and they want you to report on that. Did you have the freedom to flip the script and basically make it show where a positive light on the one female and the negative on the 80, or your superiors like, no, you will report it this way?
Well, the types of stories that I reported on had nothing to do with infantry training at all. So that was outside my jurisdiction.
Gotcha.
I mean, when I was stationed at Paris Island, for instance, we would do stories on female drill instructors or male drill instructors and cool stories about recruits who overcame insurmountable odds to graduate and become a Marine. And when I was deployed, I mean, the stories were, what were we doing overseas? We were building roads, building bridges, and training Afghans to pull security for themselves. So I didn't really cover those types of stories. But at the same time, you always kind of knew that the Military Times would cover those types of stories. So I didn't really have an opportunity to do those kinds of stories anyway.
Yeah, I just didn't know if it was one of those where you could almost help change the narrative of things in a way.
But like when I did cover stories of extraordinary recruits, for instance, or drill instructors who were, there was this was a male recruit, but like he had to go through the crucible 3 times in order to graduate. Or he had to be in boot camp for a year, because of injuries in order to graduate. So I covered stories like that. But, I mean, I had leadership, so I had to have the story approved. So, I mean, it wasn't always. Let me guess,
it was an all-male leadership. I'm
sure.
I
mean, it was mostly male leadership. Yeah. So, like, if I wanted to cover a story about when I was deployed, there was a story about a brother and sister who realized that they were brother and sister while they were deployed, and they were deployed together, and they realized they had the same mom. But my boss wouldn't let me publish the story because he had judgments about the mother and how she abandon the children or whatever. I mean, it was just a weird, like he had judgments on her that had nothing to do with my story, but I wasn't able to publish the story. So yeah, there was some censorship there, but I don't know. It didn't really have anything to do with whether or not anyone was capable or strong enough.
So with your service time, have you ever been with individuals, or have you ever been to a situation where they never even considered that you served, right? Like, say, like, you show up, like, and you pass your ID. Oh, is your husband in the service? Like, no, I am.
I serve, bitch.
I've had a lot of friends who've been in those instances. I've luckily not really been in those instances, but I've had friends who've been to the VA and they are there for an appointment for themselves, and they've been asked, "Are you here to pick up your husband?" And they're like, "No, I'm the veteran."
Right.
So
like the appointment's for me.
Yeah. And I mean, and I'm really cognizant of that, because if I'm there to park my car or I'm like, here's my ID.
You have to overly justify yourself for being
like
there.
I have to prove that I'm worthy of being there, but I have to make an extra effort, versus if you're just a dude, it's like, oh yeah, you automatically deserve to be here because you're a dude and you're assumed to be a veteran.
Or have you ever, like, when you say, oh, hey, I served in the military, and someone's like, okay, right? Or they didn't believe you?
Yeah. Once I told an older veteran that I was a Marine, he asked me what I did, and I said I was a combat correspondent. He kind of like chuckled, like, oh,
that's not a real job
because
type
I wasn't,
thing. Yeah.
Almost like because I wasn't like infantry or something, like because I was a journalist, kind of chuckled a little bit, and I didn't really feed into that. But I was like, dude, I served too.
Right. So that reminds me of thinking about stereotypes in the workplace for me, because I'm not prior service, but I work on military aircraft and have been a civilian, a civilian contractor my whole career for the military. I also get judged. We're not like, you'll be talking to work and out talking about different stuff in the aircraft. And one guy was like, and I've spent a lot of time around military, so I know there's certain isms here and there. And I'll be like, oh, what branch were you? And I'm like, oh, I didn't serve. Oh, you're one of those. Huh?
Right.
You're a nonner.
You get judged.
Yeah.
You get judged. Yeah.
And I'm like, interesting. I get that. For me specifically, I get that one a lot.
And that's probably because they assumed you were.
Yeah.
Because like
just the way you talk.
You fit the description of a veteran, and they're like, oh, you got me. And they're like, you got me.
Yeah.
What else would it be?
Or I see this a lot with women veterans, right? When they say, oh, I was a woman in the service, like, oh, she had to have gotten like all the football players in the locker room kind of thing.
Right.
Right. They had to have slept around. That's the only reason why they joined. Or that's one of the main reasons why they joined. Or they only served for so long because they just got tired of being dicked around in the barracks or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because like as a young Marine, you either like there's always this perception that if you're a woman living in the barracks, that you're like a barracks rat, you know? And you could be a total angel or a prude, but it's like you're either a prude or you're a barracks rat. There's no in between. There's no just like you're a normal person who has relationships. You're either a prude or a barracks rat.
Or it's kind of like that college
thing,
thing,
rat
right?
is like a hoe or something?
A barracks rat is like a hoe.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That would be me.
Yeah.
Or it's like
a barracks
she's she's waiting to be opened up, right? Like
right. Like
she's just playing hard to get. That's what it is, right? That goes into like a whole bunch of sexual harassment kind of things where they give that hostile environment where they just wear down your defenses. Like
that's the whole episode.
They'll encircle you and just kind of wait around there until you're tired of treading water, until someone like attacks you and stuff like that.
Terrible.
Yeah.
I will say one stereotype that I used to have, and this ties into like our podcast. I used to think that guys that owned cats were sissies.
You know what?
But that's not the case.
So yeah, I can see. I mean, I remember growing up in here like you have a dog? No, but we have a cat. Oh,
like
yeah.
Immediate judgment.
And they're only like you and your brothers. You don't have any sisters? Nope, just me and my brothers
and my cat.
Huh.
Yeah.
So
you know what I mean?
I didn't.
We
think
like to bake rosemary bread with our
yeah.
So
we like to bake bread.
So what I think,
that being said, I never had cats. I always had dogs, and I got 2 of them right now. But.
So how I thought with people with
that
cats,
cancels out.
it was like
The bread
it wasn't
and
like
the goods.
like it was more like a therapy thing, right? Like the cat's kind of like my loneliness kind of thing. They're the only animal that tolerates me kind of bit, right?
Yeah.
But I was reading this thing from a friend that posted this, like people who like cats, they know that there's nothing in their control. Like they pretty much arrest control to the cat. They just kind of deal with it, whatever the cat gives you. Like the cat gives you attention. Oh, hey, you like me today. Or the cat like just doesn't see you for the whole day. Like, okay, whatever.
Interesting.
Versus like a dog, right? Like most people who really drive that, like, oh, dogs rule and cats suck, are usually the type that's all about controlling things, right? They kind of like have that Lord Master mentality, right? Like, I lord over you. You sit when I tell you to.
Yeah.
You come
You
when I tell you
worship
to.
me.
Right? I am the shit, and you will like it. Right? Versus like with a cat, right? You kind of just have to deal with it. Just like, here's your food, here's your poop pad, whatever.
I look at it as like with dogs. I'm like, if I had a cat, the cat doesn't care whether I'm there or not. The dog's at least happy to see me at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
Unless you have a cat like mine.
Right.
Your cat's super, like, as soon as I come in, I was like,
Well, hello,
I'm right
human.
around the plant right here. Oh, man.
Hello,
Oh,
human.
hey, what's going on with you?
Yeah.
What's happening, friend?
So they gave me all the attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think cats,
a
men
friendly
with cats
cat.
are adorable, by the way.
No, I think that now, but
Or any animals, really. But
like
What
when
about
I
a
was
chinchilla?
younger,
adorable. I love it.
Really?
Ferrets, I love it.
I totally want a ferret. I'm not gonna lie, I would want a ferret.
Ferrets, squirrels, cats, dogs.
Squirrels?
I love it
An
all.
alligator.
Oh my
Those
god,
guys are
trash
cool. What about a
pandas. I
raccoon?
love
Trash
I
pandas.
love trash pandas.
Trash pandas.
Trash panda?
Trash
So,
panda.
A
kangaroo?
buddy of mine growing up had, his grandfather had a pet raccoon. He found it. It fallen out of a tree when it was a baby, and he had just raised it, and it was with him
want
till
a
it
baby
died.
panda.
I hear though skunks are better than like one of the best animals to have.
Really?
Just have the stink bag removed, but they're like the best.
You can
pet
have it
you can
removed.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's a great
the
thing
stink
to
bag,
know.
so they can't
And
spray
there's
out.
get a
fur
baby.
Yeah.
long and soft.
Just get a baby skunk
And they're
have
relatively,
it.
they're pretty clean animals for the most
Wow.
part. Yeah.
I had a
so
friend that
cute.
had
Yeah.
a pet llama, and I thought he was just the cutest
Oh,
guy.
yeah. We had friends that had a whole llama farm.
Hey.
Really, anyone who can take care of a pet, I think, is
Just the responsibility.
Yeah.
the
Of,
responsibility of caring for
Compassion.
another creature. You know, that show, compassion.
We had pigs growing up. Actually want to get another. We had a bunch of pigs growing up, but I'd like to get a little potbelly pig.
Oh,
Yeah.
I kind of want one of those
I wish
that
I had
like they don't grow no bigger than the size of a pygmy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh my
Like the size of a
God.
cat. Just
If
let
you
it roll
ever
around.
get a little piglet, we'll travel to you to do an episode.
No, so I wanted to get a little piglet, right? And I was doing research on it because I really, really, really wanted to do it. But I heard that there are some people that will market these like tiny little piglets as piglets. And then
Then
they,
they turn
sell
them
them
full
to you,
to
and
be
then they
normal
turn into
size.
Oh, you got your
Six.
wish.com pig.
Pretty
You didn't
much.
get your Amazon, you got your wish.com.
Pretty
return
much.
it? What are you gonna do with
Yeah.
Dang.
So
so you just got
I wanna-
a piglet cat.
a piglet cat. Yeah.
Now what about
I do.
okay, how do you guys
potato cat.
how do you ladies feel about dudes with snakes?
Oh, I love it.
Oh, my old
Really?
My dad had a
grandmother
snake when I was a baby.
I love
Really?
snakes.
A boa
I love
constrictor.
reptiles.
You know,
Oh.
it's
Yeah,
a good
same.
combination.
We
Boa
did a
constrictor
whole-
and
we did a
newborn
whole
babies.
photo shoot.
That's
of-
right.
with
Oh, that's right, yeah.
snakes.
We love snakes.
So it's people either love them or hate them,
Love 'em.
right?
We love them. Our friend Wes has 18 snakes, ranging from
breeding
tiny
them?
hand snakes to
Oh, okay.
to big snakes, and they're really sweet and domesticated.
So one of my roommates years ago, after that whole fiasco I talked about in the last episode, we had an apartment, but he had like 6 snakes or something like that, and then we had an aquarium out in the living room, and it was for all of his aquatic turtles. So he likes reptiles or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so, anyways, I'm sitting there. He was in Vegas one weekend with his family, and I'm sitting there on the couch. You know, it's like Saturday night. I'm just chilling, watching TV. And I see something out of the corner of my eye come up over the back of the couch, and I'm like,
Oh my god!
That's not
Everyone
I
that
didn't
has
turn at
any-
first. My eyes just got real big, and I was like, I don't want to look.
Anyone that has reptiles has some sort of story about them escaping.
Yeah.
My sister's got a whole second bedroom of lizards, frogs, snakes, all of it.
But I was
Yeah.
turning to look, and it was his biggest snake, his biggest ball python. And at the time, she was like 8 feet.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
Hey, baby.
Hey,
Hi,
friend. We're all good here. We're all a couple of guys hanging
Yeah.
out, you know?
Like, hello, Satan. No.
So
I
what did
not
you
eat
do? Did you
apple.
put it away or did you just
So
let it
I
like...
caught him. I was like, your snake's out. It's out of the cage, you know? I caught snakes and stuff like black rat snakes and everything growing up. But
Yeah.
like the last time he had me feed a snake, she bit me. So I was kind of like, I don't want to.
I mean, it
I don't
couldn't
want to
have
fuck
looked
with your.
worse than this.
Yeah, this is a fucking cat. Her boss's psycho
That keeps
cat
scratching her.
scratched Amanda's
Pizza bandit.
leg and left the just.
That lovely, yeah.
This is the kind of asshole cat that makes all cats look bad.
Right, yeah, the stereotype what you hear in
stereotypical
movies or
cat.
see memes
Exactly.
about. Yeah.
Circle around.
But
Imagine
really,
that.
my two are adorable and very sweet.
And mine
So
too.
you have cats. You have a cat.
We all have cats.
We all have
Yeah,
cats.
this is actually the first cat I had.
It would be hard to have, I think, a dog of any size, like and live
In
down
LA,
here in LA. Yeah, it would
yeah,
be
because
difficult.
before LA, when I was back in Illinois and Chicago, I had 2 huskies.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
cute.
that's what you got.
Hey.
I always grew up with boxers,
lot.
and now I have a pit bull. I got her from the pound. She's 9 years old. I got her when she was 3, and then I got a little fat cow of a bulldog.
She's in there crying.
Yeah.
You guys, I don't know if you've ever seen this image. It's a really old image from like, I think World War II of this Marine who, it's a black and white image of a Marine who's deployed in the field and he's bottle feeding a baby kitten.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I've seen that
And
video.
it's
or
the
that,
sweetest thing
still
I've ever
frame.
seen because you don't
Yeah.
think of a hard-charging Marine like being a really compassionate, gentle person.
So quick.
I think of one of those, especially if you're in World War II and you're somewhere in Europe sitting in a trench and you're like,
Yeah.
there's this kitten. I just need some escape from the hell
Yes.
Yes.
that I'm in right now.
Yes.
So if it's me taking care of this kitten,
Yeah.
you got it.
It is
Yeah.
the sweetest
Yeah.
photo I think I've ever seen in
Yeah.
my life.
And,
No,
and,
I've seen it.
and I
A
think
man
that's
and
also
his
like just being
kitten.
so high strung, like you were saying for so
Yeah.
long. Like example is
Everything is death.
A very
Yeah, how do I
very
decompress? Yeah.
low notch example was Bob Ross, right? He said, per his words, he was like a total asshole, like drill instructor type. And then he burned out so much of that he's like, you know what? I'm never gonna yell no more. I'm gonna grow my hair out. I'm gonna start painting.
Happy little
Yeah.
trees.
So you know why?
Happy little
you know
accidents.
why he got stuck with that fro though? It's because he was
No.
cheap and he went and got a perm done, so he wouldn't have to get his hair cut as much. And that became such a part of his image that
They told him not to cut his hair.
studios he said you can't cut your hair anymore because that's what you're kind of
didn't
known
know
for.
that. Really?
And
Oh,
so
I
he
didn't
was
know
stuck
that.
with
He
his
was
fro
hated it. He
forever.
said he
yeah.
hated it.
He
I
love
hated it.
Bob
He's like, I wanted to cut it so
Ross.
bad, they wouldn't
I
let
have
me
so
cut
much
it.
respect for Bob Ross.
I love him.
He's just so soothing.
But yeah,
And
like
Mr. Rogers.
guys,
I watch him a lot
Yeah,
when
Mr.
I go to
Rogers,
sleep.
too.
that's why they do
Put on a
it. That's why
Bob
they play him
Ross
so
episode
late.
and just tank.
Ugh, a man
Play him
and his
so late.
kitten, a man and his paint. Respect.
Much respect.
But back to stereotypes.
Mm-hmm.
What about in the photography side of things?
Oh yeah.
I'm lucky enough that I think it's equalizing
Oh, yeah.
fairly well. Because even like in high school when I was in photography class, it was fairly equal. Yeah, I think the beauty in anything with art in general is that you can like she's in there screaming still. Yeah, I think that it's a little more accepting. Like women in photography or tech stuff like that was more accepting for me personally, at least, than it was in like automotive class.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think that it's the type of, I don't know, stereotype for what belongs in this group, if you will. Like the stereotype of the person that is a mechanic is something so far different than the stereotype of the person that is a photographer or an artist already. So there's like less bridge to gap, you know?
Yeah.
I'll say like I think a little bit of stereotype that I've seen anyway with photography is most women will take stuff that's a little bit more intimate and personal, right? Like up close versus men. They like to do stuff that's in action.
I want to see your tits and pussy.
like in action. Like it has to be big and grandeur. and
Yeah,
all
it's
that.
sports, or if it's of any kind of portraiture, it's like I want something that's gonna like provoke me to feel enticed by your body or something, instead of like some sort of like more emotion.
Mhm.
Yeah,
You
Interesting.
bring up
at
an
least with portraits, that's my analysis.
the photography thing. You're reminding me of now film directors. We look at the number of film directors who are women. How many graduate from film school? Yet how many actually get to direct big budget Hollywood
win Oscars.
films? Right. How many Oscar winners do we have who are women? We have, and there's also what's the phrase? There's a less of leeway for failure with women directors. Like there was a lot of people hating on like the Ghostbusters film that was like all women, right? And you have male directors who can also direct flops. And they get a lot more leeway, and they get, signed on to direct big budget films right after that.
Yeah, and it's like what you were saying about like, the women mechanics that are, like doing it faster, better, everything. It's like, yeah, because you have this mentality of already like you're already out of place, so I have to prove myself and I have to do it the best that I can as fast as I can. Because there is no leeway. Yeah,
I'm already behind the curve in the industry's eyes, so now I have to go above and beyond to create this. And
could you imagine an entire workforce, including the whatever 90% of men or however whatever percentage of more men, if everyone worked that way?
Oh yeah, I mean,
if men worked as hard as the woman did in the field that she shouldn't, quote unquote, be in.
If everyone felt like they had to prove themselves,
I think we'd already be living on other planets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
visiting Mars and stuff.
Yeah, we'd already be there.
Oh my God. That's insane. To me.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I like that. Nice thought experiment.
Hey,
exactly.
Hey. Ship of Theseus.
What's it smell like?
I'm thinking of like, I'm hungry.
Anna's smelling herself.
She's hangry.
Are you a hangry type?
Well, okay, so
there.
that sparks a little thought in my brain, right? Okay, so the common put down for a woman to be on most any job that she isn't already on, right, is the just humanity of being a woman, right? You get your period, you're emotional. That's why you can't do this job. So are there things, and I know that you guys aren't necessarily in fields that are not male dominated, but are there things that you can think of that are like a preconceived notion that put you at a disadvantage, right? Like, I guess technically, like when I was talking about taking care of kids, right? Like, do you think there's like a preconceived notion that men can't be compassionate, therefore they shouldn't be caretakers?
Yeah,
or,
well, like in aviation, if you show any weakness at all by being overly kind or whatever else, you're immediately
So this went on to that topic I said we were addressed earlier, where they say like they would discriminate the job hiring process just based solely on your sex or gender.
Yeah.
Right. Like say, man, if I come off to you nice, my hands are soft or something like that. He's probably like a lazy piece of shit, right?
Yeah.
Or say like a woman comes by, she wants to
You're
be
like, I just moisturize every night.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, like for me, right, when I was doing work on the floor, and one of my lead mechanics right now, I wore rubber gloves for everything. Everything, because a lot of the chemicals.
You're a smart man, and no woman wants greasy fingers in her pussy.
Yeah, no girl wants nasty fucking grease-filled
sandpaper
fingers up in it. You're right.
Yeah.
So
He's like, that was the thought process.
but a lot of what we deal with on a daily is caustic chemicals, right?
Yeah.
That shit's horrendous for your skin.
Yes.
So I look at it as from I'm just hopefully,
I don't want cancer
hopefully
to
staving
die.
off cancer for as long as I can. You know what I mean? And so but because of that, I got made fun of every day for wearing gloves, even if it was just the point of putting on normal like mechanics gloves and going out and hooking up a tow bar to the aircraft or whatever. You got made fun of, like, oh, you got those sissy hands.
Yeah, but I can grip this better.
I'm like, yeah, that's cool. And you got a big ass gash on yours from safety wire. Like, I don't got that.
Your hands are horrendous.
But that's it's that, and from the male to male, right? You're a fucking pussy because
you should be like, I'm protecting my manicure. Just to like double up.
I wish I could claim that I did this, but it was another guy on the floor,
and
he's like, nah, man, I'm keeping my hands off for your girl. I overheard and I was like, damn it, why couldn't I have thought of that? You know what I mean? Like,
but that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, I was in automotive class, right? And it was like, all the time. It was like, I know what your nails look like. I know what your fingers look like. I know what your hands feel like. No.
It's like, I guess for some people it's a
rite of
even
passage.
if they wash their hands, like there's still dirt stuck in the grooves of their fingers and stuff. And for them, it's that's an honest day's work. I'm like,
I was just going to say the same thing. Like this is me showing how hard I worked because my work can't speak for itself. Therefore, I need some sort of actual presentation of how hard I worked.
By not using any proper protective equipment.
And it's not how hard you worked. It's just how fucking egotistical and stupid you think that this like peacocking thing is.
Yeah.
Right. And this, and the same goes, we were saying, like with the women, as far as them getting hired, right? Oh, why do you want this job? Oh, are you support? Is this all you can do?
Because I like to eat.
Yeah.
Or it's one of those like, because I think planes are cool too.
Yeah,
like I can like planes, you know.
I studied
I went to
learn how
school for
fly
this.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I just spent 30 plus grand on getting the license to do this. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
It's amazing too. And I wonder how much of this is also like rooted in our upbringing, because say with my being in automotive class in high school, right? My dad obviously fucking worked on cars all the time. He loved fucking racing, all of that shit. And so here I am, like, I want my dad's attention. I'm going to be in automotive class. I'm going to do all this stuff. I think it's like, I'm trying to absorb all of this as fast as I can. On the flip side, he's like taking my brother to like the Indy 500. My brother has no fucking
interest in
at all. He's there like literally like drawing the whole time the race is going on. And there's me at home watching it on TV being like, God damn it, I wish I was there.
Yeah.
And it's just like this stereotype, like he's my son, so I have to take my son to the race. And he doesn't give a fuck, and he never did.
Right.
Yep.
And yet there's me that's like, what, like, how much more can I prove that I'm interested in this to like get my dad's attention?
Right.
It's amazing. Yeah.
And I think that goes into like this was with Travis, where he says it comes down to like a choice. It's either you're gonna want to be like them because you feel you have no choice, or you're gonna do something completely opposite of them because you feel like you have no better choice. Like example was the alcoholic thing. My dad was an alcoholic, so one is gonna feel like I have to be one because my dad was one,
Right.
and then the other is gonna say I want nothing to do with it because he was one.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
You reminded me of something when I was in high school marching band, for instance, we had like one male flute player. Every other flute player was a woman, but like the males were expected to play
Was his name
like,
Jethro Tull?
you know, horns and trumpets and
Yeah.
And the-
saxophone.
And the tuba, the drum line, whatever. Yeah.
And if you played the flute, you were like kind of looked at like a wuss, but you know, hey,
Well-
like an instrument's an instrument.
Mine
So
was the
that-
clarinet, right? It was like
Yeah.
everyone, if you play the flute or the clarinet, instant. He has to be.
Violent.
So
Yeah.
I think about that. Think back to high school too. Like the band kids got made fun of a lot, especially the male band kids.
Yeah.
And you know, and all the athletes, right? Didn't who played sports. They always made fun of the band kids. But as an adult, I look back and say, what a fucking talent, man! I wish I knew how to play an
Yeah.
instrument that
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Play
Like
chess.
they know how to read music. They know how to play the instrument. This guy can kick a ball and run.
Right.
You know what I
And
mean?
then,
Like,
and then you hear all the the stories from band camps and stuff like that, right?
He's like, I should have gone to band camp.
It's like, what the? I should have really took band serious. I really should.
Yeah. Oh my God.
but same thing. Like
Or baking apple pies.
Yes.
Right?
right.
Yes.
Well,
No, now knowing that, that would've been a skill.
people make fun of, you know, they again with the whole baking thing. People go like, "You bake?" I'm like, "Yeah," because you know who really likes to eat more than me?
Women.
Women.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Literally.
I was like, you know what women really like, but they'll never admit that they like bread.
And the
I
way
love
to our
that, yeah.
hearts is through our stomachs.
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, I think that's humans
Or a
in
vagina.
general.
I think so, but I'm like, if she ain't hangry, she ain't yelling at me. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, smart man. Yeah, you cracked the code.
That's
But
really
like-
smart.
Crack the code. Is
But like,
that easy?
even in
Hangry,
high school,
just
I got
feed
made
me.
fun of because I did my junior and senior year. I did the school play.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, and it was and like initially going into it, I got made fun of by the guys I played sports with or whatever else.
Yeah.
But then I did. I was like, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
I had a lot of fun.
That's
and
another
like,
thing. Like, oh, if you do theater, you must be gay. Like,
does
no.
every Hollywood
good
star
fucking
like
actor.
are they
Right?
gay too?
Is everyone
Because-
Hollywood actor
And
gay?
it's
Yeah.
like
No.
really interesting to reflect on that. Yeah, because I think most young, like high school teenagers idolize celebrities and movie stars,
Yeah,
yet make fun of the people that are doing that are, you know, in high school.
yeah,
like,
they're interested in it.
Yeah.
Man.
I know.
Yeah.
And I got into it because I'm not very intelligent in math, and I was failing my math class. And my math teacher at the time, she was also the director of the school play. And
Hey,
I told her-
smart.
And I was like, and her name was Mrs. English, and I was like, Mrs. English. I was like, what can I do to just get a passing grade, please? I don't want to fail, you know. And she was like, well, my lead for the play just
Dropped
got
out?
suspended
Hey.
for getting into a fight or whatever. And she's like, I need somebody to fill in, but the play is in 2 weeks. Can you do it?
Yes.
Say no more. I got it. And then I did, and I had such a
You
good
brought her a
time.
loaf of bread
I
and you
had-
got to practicing those lines.
She wasn't angry anymore.
She got, and I learned it in 2 weeks. I had such a blast in that time. And I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it to senior year too, and so I did.
Ooh, check
Yes.
it out.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun, just jacking around and being somebody different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we were talking about work stereotypes. Going on what he was saying, I think a bigger one is like just relationship stereotypes as well. It's like just being sensitive to ask you stuff or to admit that you like certain not so manly stuff, right? AKA baking, or like I like cats, or
Just being comfortable with who you are and what you
just
like.
liking what you like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I like Dungeons and Dragons or some other
Yeah,
stuff
and you know
like
who you know who shits on that? The person that's insecure, the fucking beta, the immature.
Yeah.
that. Ooh, here we go with beta stuff.
Hey, fucking
We're
beta
not beta
bitches.
here. We're alpha as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if a guy tells me that he loves sangria and manicures, I'm like,
Yay!
I want to
We're
go
gonna
get
be the best
pedicures with my
besties.
boy, my man.
yeah,
I've never done one, but I'm down for it because like
so
foot
relaxing.
massage. Why not?
No,
why
I
not?
have a friend that's like masculine as fuck, right? And like very like emotionally intelligent, very successful and all of that. And he's like, no woman wants a man with crusty feet, bro. Just go get your
Exactly.
fucking feet file down.
Or crusty fucking hands, or dry as fuck skin, or ashy as fuck.
Yeah,
Whatever.
like-
It was like nobody
you
wants.
look
spell-
gross.
Yeah, you
spell manicure
look
without
sick. Is what you look. You know.
Unhealthy, yeah.
If you were a
care
dog,
of your
if you were a dog, I'd put you down.
Right.
You know what I
Right. You don't do this with your car.
Right.
Why would you do this with your body?
mean? Right.
Yeah.
6 minutes.
Oh, you got to go
All right.
put in.
All right.
More coins.
More coins.
More
All right.
coins. Oh my gosh.
On
The
that note.
ongoing
On that
stuff.
note, ladies.
On that note, should we close out this episode by thanking a few folks?
Yes.
Who are we going to thank?
Well, first of all, we'd love to thank our guests on this very important and special podcast, the Canceled for Maintenance
It's fun.
podcast friends
It's our
we
first
have.
crossover
Can we? Yeah, can we do this more often?
We should,
this
because
is great.
the face-to-face conversases are so much
So much
better.
fun.
So much
Yes,
fun.
yeah.
So
Yes.
much better. 'cause
So
you can
much
see
fun.
We're really
people's
not
faces
that
react.
far apart.
I think we made it here in
An hour.
An hour.
Oh,
yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Made it down in no time at all.
We could
And-
go up there.
DTM road trip.
We could go on a road trip.
Yeah.
Hey.
And if we could even find a studio or
Middle
something
ground.
too. Like
Yeah.
we don't even have to find a middle ground, but even if it was like a studio or whatever where we could do that too, it'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Either way.
We
But
were
this
just
apartment's
talking this
super
morning
nice.
about DTM field trips. So
So we're talking about the same thing too, because we have a lot of listeners like in the Philippines, Australia, Europe
hey,
and stuff. And so they're like, hey, if you guys ever find yourselves over this way, like hit us up. We'd like to show you around where we work and do whatever. And I was like,
Oh my God.
man, if we could find somebody to
Let's
fund
go to the
that stuff.
Philippines.
fucking tour.
We
Yeah,
Yeah.
we need like band tour T-shirts.
Band tour.
right. It's like the away team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dates
I'm
and
down.
But
times
we
and
definitely,
locations.
we definitely thank you for having us on,
Yeah,
and
it's been a
likewise
blast.
for
You're welcome.
our end for letting us.
Yes, this has been magic.
It's been fun to collab with you guys.
We'd like to thank our patrons for supporting our show and allowing us to keep producing episodes, bring on guests, and keep Shoreline ever the happy to produce our show. With special thanks to Erica Lamont, Chris Hawkins, Stephanie Boatman, Jenny Dignan, Ryan Frushauer, Daniel Schubert, and Steven Shivers. Thank you all, our patrons, so much for all your support and again, your patronage. If you have ideas, topics, or stories for the show, or you would like to be a guest on the show, visit cancelformaintenance.com and drop us a line on our contact us section. We will do whatever we can to get you and or your ideas onto the show. Check out our sponsor, Rockwell Time, for all sorts of outdoors and sporting apparel such as watches, safety-rated sunglasses, and snowboarding goods. Visit rockwelltime.com, use code CX4MX, and save 10% off your purchases. Support us on Patreon at patreon.com/cancelformaintenance. Patronage again allows us to continue making episodes and maintain our gear. Patrons also get exclusive perks such as access to our Discord and discounts to our upcoming merch.